Hey everybody, it's Bust with Battles with Bust number 133, and today we're going to be jumping into the Gauntlet. And so, as I say at the beginning of all of these Gauntlet videos, I'm not going to get too in-depth with any of the deck lists. I'll point out what's a little bit different from standard with ours, but I like to focus a little bit more on the lineup as opposed to the decks themselves. And so if you want to watch us play these decks, you can just scroll back through the channel a little bit, and we should have a video guide on each of these individually. And so with that out of the way and into the Gauntlet here, the thing I was kind of looking to do this week was, you typically try and say I'm going to play an aggro lineup or control lineup, or I'm going to play a lineup that picks on Bard Illaoi, or a lineup that picks on tokens, right? You typically come in with a fairly specific strategy. But I was wanting to take this from like the other end of the spectrum in terms of we play against such a wide variety of decks in Gauntlet. What if we just look to play the decks that are really strong against what we call the tail of the format? So this is the kind of reason why I typically bring Fizz Riven to just about everything. I bring the like action, or the action Nars, action Renekton's, whatever you want to call the Papercraft Dragon deck of choice, just because they aren't usually spectacular against like the top 3 or 4 decks, but they tend to just annihilate everything at the back end of the spectrum. And so I wanted to kind of like take a look at the decks in the format right now that were kind of good against the back end, but maybe not so much the top of the format. And so that's landed us on 2 of the 3 decks we're going to play. I'll go ahead and bring up a spreadsheet that everyone wants to see. And that leads us with like both Aphelios, Viktor, Zoe, and Illaoi Lux. These are decks that aren't spectacular against some of the real top side of the meta. But if you take a peek down here at this other section that I've tried to mark, it's decks that play, pretty well against everything else. And so that's, the idea with these. I was initially looking at Talia Lysandra because she is arguably the best deck against all of the off-meta decks, but the matchup table with Talia Lysandra looks pretty bad. She's kind of fallen out of the format a bit right now because she has bad matchups against tokens, bad matchups against Bard Illaoi, and bad matchups against all the Kaisa decks. And so I wasn't quite willing to just roll the dice and hope that our opponents weren't just going to bring the top decks, but I'd kind of defaulted back to Draven Sion. I always have a good time with Draven Sion. This is a deck that I find works pretty well. And so it's what we're bringing as the 3rd spot. So we have 2 Boom Baboon decks, if you will, along with Lux Illaoi coming into the format. And so first and foremost, the thing that we're looking to do is just ban Bard. Right, Bard is something that I expect to see in pretty much every matchup. I suspect that he's just going to actually be the most common deck of the day. It doesn't necessarily have to be a Illaoi Bard, but I think Bard is going to be the top deck. Our plan is to ban Bard. That makes our matchup tables look pretty decent. With the kind of problem we can run into, though, is if you go to the on-meta problem section here on the right, if you want to think about the decks that were really popular at seasonals, so decks that were really popular a month ago before the Kaisa set came out, that would be your Talia Lysandras and your various flavors of Aphelios, Boom Baboon. These matchups are all terrible. And so if it comes down to it, we will likely either ban a Talia Lysandra or an Aphelios Viktor if they turn up. But otherwise, we're just planning on banning Bard. Last but not least, I did want to at least point out the various other top matchups between all of the Kaisa decks, which are okay with Draven Sion. That's why I wanted to bring him. They're all pretty okay in terms of Illaoi Lux. They're all winnable with Aphelios, Boom Baboon, but they're slightly unfavored. And then I also wanted to call out the tokens deck. We have 2 decks that have quite good matchups there. And then again, Aphelios' deck is not positive, but winnable. And so that's what I was really looking for out of this lineup. If we play against someone that says, okay, I'm just going to play the top 3 decks, then we have some serious game. If I don't think we'll see that too much, and then if they kind of deviate from that, we should still be okay. And so that's the idea with the lineup today, being really good against the tail, being mediocre to slightly bad against the very top end of the meta. And so to look at these decks a little bit closer, I have moved to playing Vi in Draven Sion. This does alter our lineup here just a little bit. As we were playing this through seasonals, I was a big proponent of playing the 3 Sions, 3 Dravens. I've kind of seen the light in terms of playing Vi. I'm not sure if I actually feel like I'd rather just play 3 Scions, because Sion is how you tend to just close out the games, right? He's your ultimate late game. I felt like in an event like Seasonals, we're both going to see players that just don't give up as much free damage, so the game might last a turn or two longer, and then we're also going to run against more just straight up control lineups, so I wanted the full package of the Scions, but at least in terms of ladder climbing right now, I've been pretty happy playing the 2 copies of Vi. The other thing with our deck list, if you're not familiar with it, I do really like playing the burn heavy package here. So we're playing the full 3 copies of Mystic Shot, 3 Get Excited, 3 Knocks and Fervors. I have dropped down to 2 Decimates, but I really like this idea of just punching in some early game damage and then trying to burn out your opponent. To make our deck work like this, we do have to give up some of the mid-range package, and so you're not going to find any Grim Physicians in here, whatever that card draw guy is called. We're only playing 2 Sunk Dredgers and 2 Lost Souls, and so we do give up a bit of our longevity to play this full-on burn package that we're bringing today. Deck number 2, Aphelios, Viktor, Zoe. Ideally, we would be playing Vi, right? As I play this on the ladder, I really prefer to play the Vi version as opposed to the Viktor version, but we can't play Vi in 2 decks, and so if we have Vi in the other deck, it's not too painful to just swap out the Vi for the Viktor. And so otherwise, the lineup here is pretty straightforward. We are playing the full 3 copies of Winding Light. I don't know why people don't do that all the time, but I do occasionally see lists that only have 2 copies, which is 100% wrong. And so we're playing our 3 copies of the Winding Light, and then otherwise pretty standard across the board. We're not going out of our way to like hard target Illaoi decks or anything and playing a bunch of Hushes, but we do have a singular copy here. Last deck of the day, Lux Illaoi. This is one that we do have some odd shit happening with, as people don't agree with my love of the Attune units. And so, as you typically see things like Petricite Broadwing, I don't really like playing those as much. I've gone to start playing Grumble Slugs and playing Shell Shockers. This lets us continue to play guys in the early game while also building up our mana. We just need tons and tons of mana with this deck if we're trying to play Tentacle Smashes, Concerted Strikes, I have Naga Kaboros, and Riptide Sermon. And I don't like having to make the decision, do I want to add a unit to the board or do I want to spend my mana? Do I want to put a unit on the board or bank my mana? And these Attune units fix that problem. And then they also let us do stuff like still play a 1-drop, a 2-drop, and then play a Tentacle Smash on turn 3. And so we can still have these curves to where we say play Watchful Idol on turn 1, play Grumble Slug on turn 2, bank 1 mana because of Attune, and then on turn 3 we still have 4 mana, so we can start popping off with our Tentacle Smashes. And so that is the big difference that you'll find out of our Lux Illaoi, is that we do play this small Attune package. And so that's it. The decks have been talked about. I checked in on the pay-to-win price. You know how I'm always worried about making sure we've played enough pay-to-win. We're paid up. Everything is premium here except a couple champions and a couple epics, and so we are good to go. So, all right, we're playing definitely not Vi. This one does have Vi, so we'll play that one. And the last deck of choice, the Smashing Sermon. So the lineup is ready. It's been confirmed. Head on in, see if we can't hit that Prime Glory. Missed out on the last one. We're gonna have to do some work to pick up these last few Prime victories. We did fine last seasonals. We had to play 2 games instead of 1, and still qualified and everything. But I like having that full set here. And okay, so this is fairly easy. I don't quite remember what the Ezreal Noxus Tri-Beam deck matchup looks like, but I know Talia Lissandra gives our deck some serious problems. And so we're going to ban Talia Lissandra out of the mix and see how our Boom Baboon decks hold up against these. I think arguably the weakest choice that we're going to have here is going to be the Draven deck. It's a little bit weaker than the Viktor deck, and ideally, if we need to take Viktor into the Ezreal deck, we'll be okay there. All right, I'm just going to get a full mulligan in. I really want some early game interactivity against the lurkers. We're going to try and find some 1s and some 2s or some Mystic Shots. This is much better than what we started with. Ideally, we would find a 1-drop. You can't have it all, I guess. I'd like to be able to trade with their turn 1 play. Ooh, he's already dropping the GGs. He must not have had a must not have had a great early game play. Really hurts missing out on that attack. Okay. So we get our nice 4 damage hit in. I usually look to just trade with all of their units. Since he's a little bit behind now, I might be okay. Like, if we can get a second hit in with the Risen Rider, it tends to just end every game. And so I think we're in a pretty good spot to just try and burn this one out. All right, well, we'll add our Baboon. Again, it looks like that plan's not going to come to fruition if he's going to just take his hooks this way. And now I'm kind of leaning towards actually just playing Mystic Shot and getting a 4 damage open next turn. I think this will be okay. We'll still block just in case. If he's got a combat trick, I don't want to be getting hit with a shaped stone just because we didn't block. But, dang. A little unfortunate. We're not going to get to punch these damages in now. Nothing better than punching in the damages. Alright, we might get something though. Poro Cannon was a pretty good draw, since we can hit with the 4 elusives this turn. It's about time for an emote. Let's go ahead and get one. Get the laser kitty out here. It's appropriate. It's appropriate, I assure you. Alright, so my big thing for this next turn is our Vi is up to 10 power, and he has these smaller-ish lurkers, so even if he plays something like the 2-3 Predict, we should be able to throw Vi in front of it and get a pretty decent block. Rek'Sai is not that scary. We can just take the damage from her, and then she'll go away. But I do want to have Vi on board in the event we get to get a good combat. Okay. So as it stands, we should be able to open for about 1 million damage here. Actually, just 13, but that's pretty close to 1 million. I don't know if you did the mathematics or not on that one, but it's pretty close. Shouldn't have to worry about the likes of Pyke. Pyke should only be at 4? Is he at 5? Lurk's at +3, so Pyke would be at 5. Yeah. A bit unfortunate. Oh, it still says we're lethal? Okay. I was about to start playing spells, but I checked the... I thought Pyke started with 2 power. I started checking the thing, and it says we won, and so... Good job. Well done, team. Vi stands for victory. You got it, girl. All right, on to the next battle. And so I'm gonna have to go and look up some of the quotes. I don't quite remember them, but it was a weird day yesterday. I went and grabbed a beer with the wife, and they had, I guess the Ocho isn't like a real ESPN channel. They just kind of meme it and put it on actual ESPN every once in a while, but. They had the Ocho Dodgeball Championship on ESPN yesterday, and so then I had to just go and watch Dodgeball. And that movie, it's never been like that good. It's not one of those movies that you always want to make this trade, right? If he doesn't have a unit to attack with next turn, he can't hit Lark. It's like they. It's never been like the top end of those early 2000s movies that I really love. Like Zoolander doesn't really do it for me. Dodgeball's okay, but it did have like so many memorable quotes in it that we used to just sit around and say over and over and over again. I gotta try and pull some of those up for us as the event progresses. But it did have like a bit of that flavor as to where. The comedy falls flat these days. It's like their comments on sexuality and people's level of intelligence does fall a bit flat, but it does still have a lot of nice moments in it, and I don't feel like it's too over the top to feel as though it's not watchable. All right, so what are we going to do here? I'm never going to take this unlicensed innovation. It's either the Song Spinner or the Progress Day. I do like Progress Day in our decks like this to where we're playing both Mystic Shot and Get Excited, but these are two pretty expensive spells. The kind of flip side to these is we don't have a ton to do anymore, and so we could actually look to be dropping something like Progress Day. I think I want to take the Progress Day. Like, this might come down to us being able to dig for a whatchamacallit, dig for a Winding Light, to where the other thing is a mana cheaper, but it's just going to give us some random things to fill the board with. I don't think we need to worry about filling the board right now. We've got all of our Poro Cannon-like bros on board. Okay, so Rek'Sai comes down. Not going to fool with that. I'm just kind of asking myself, do we really want to, say, pop off these Poro Cannons? Probably not. We're definitely going to get Aphelios down soon. Just matters, it depends if that soon is like right now.
We will resist.
I'm leaning a little bit more towards just dropping 3 Poros. And then playing Aphelios next turn. And I think I want to discard the last Poro to the Poro Cannon. I mean, that's tough in terms of... Rek'Sai just goes right back on top. We can counterspell this with the Mystic Shot. But no, if we're wanting to play a Winding Light on turn 6, we have to have this Dust Petal Dust. And so I was looking to just discard a Daring Poro so that we can make sure we hang on to our Dust Petal. All right, so slightly awkward. Like, I don't think we're going to get too much going with moon weapons this game. Like, it's tough. Like, we can Mystic Shot face, play Aphelios, and then look to pick up, like, a double stun. Double stun would be the big one in terms of shutting down a lot of what they're doing. I'm also kind of okay with just a 3-bank, but let's do this. Mystic Shot's not really going to do anything else this game. He can still have a small lurk, but I don't feel like it's going to get a ton of work done. And then let's see if he just keeps passing. Like, if he adds a unit to the board and we get to make a decision, maybe we'll follow up with the Aphelios, but I'm pretty certain I just want to have this Progress Day in hand. Alright, so we didn't hit our Winding Lights. We're still set up. Well, we're not set up to play it anymore. No, we can play it next turn. We'll have 7 mana. So I think this will come down to if he can... Rek'Sai should only be at 9, right? She's only going to get +2 attack this round. This is lethal, so we have to block. Okay, seems fine enough. It's the Winding Light, but we just lost 2 of our units. We're just going to have to wait on that. We have to refill the board. I'll feel like a little bit better if we can play Aphelios and take down some of this stuff. I'm going to play Aphelios and just take the removal spell. And then we do have access to things like a Flame Chompers, but well, we don't have any discard for it. All right, where are you at, Calibrum? Here you go. And then the big thing with Calibrums, we can phase into Gravitum, and so if he follows up with one of the big lurkers, we could potentially stun it next turn. I think Jawfish costs 8. Don't quote me on that, but I don't think he's going to have the opportunity to AoE our team this turn. Okay, there's the double stun. It's a little tense. I'm not feeling great about this. If he has something like a stun card in hand, I'm not ultra worried about it. Oh, he just plays Pike. Okay. Can't get Aphelios out of there fast enough. Just give me that trade. Okay. This is fine. We do have the get excited to try and take Pike down. 1 damage short of getting a lethal. And there's the Jawfish. Alright, I think we're good. Drop that double stun. Alright, not the greatest of sequencing in terms of getting Viktor down and doing everything, but I think this is okay. We still get plenty of board now. He only has 1 card in hand. We can still play the Winding Light next turn, since if he, like, needs to, like, get a rally, then we're still just fine. I think we might have done it, Fam Jam. All right. Give it your best shot. Call the Pack's not going to do it. Two Jaw Hunters hits aren't going to be enough to stop this either. Okay. $19 coming in. GG. All right. All right. Market W for the good guys. So yeah, dodgeball. The big quote I think that people still use out of dodgeball is, of course, that's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see how it plays out for him. It's fantastic usage. Jateman Bateman comes out of nowhere in that movie. I don't know how they managed to get him for it. I think those guys are all good friends, but if you're not familiar with the line, it's like the team forfeits. They have to forfeit. That's one of the major plot points there, so the team just concedes their game. And then Jason Bateman comes in with that's a bold strategy, Cotton. It's fucking choice. It's like, I don't know how he makes it through that without just, like, cracking up. He has, like, so many choice one-liners in there, and he just, like, stone faces it the whole time. I guess that's part of just being a professional. But here, this is kind of tough. Like, I know we have good matchups against tokens. He can force kind of a bad matchup into tokens with the Illaoi Lux not playing there favorably. One of these decks isn't favorable into tokens. Which one is that if we pull it up? I mean, I guess they're all close enough. It's like my line of thought with this matchup is these decks are trash, right? Between the Landmarks deck and whatever this Tri-Beam Swain kind of deck is. That just, like, will just ban out their actual good deck. But, I mean, I think our matchups are going to be fine enough into this to just let it go. I'm going to actually come out here and ban out the Xerath. I do have some worries playing against Xerath decks with a bunch of Boom Baboon decks, since we tend to have, like, really awkward situations to where we need to fill the board out against their land strategies, whatever the landmark things are called. It's slipping my mind right now, but, like, a lot of our strategy plays very well into their strategy, and if we can just go ahead and avoid that, I think it'll be okay. All right, but reasonable enough start. I'm going to go ahead and lead off with the Zonite Urchin. I'll trade it with literally anything in his deck, and so I don't feel the need to go ahead and just drop the Flame Chompers. Let's get the Revenant on board, or cycled out, and have a little bit of mystery in our hand, if you will, in terms of this Flame Chompers. It's just going to come down right now, but think it's okay. All right, not the choicest of turns, but see if we can't recover a bit here. We needed like a damage-based play for this turn. Like, it's like we can open and then assume that the Zonite Urchin doesn't get to deal damage, or we can, well, the Subdredger is reasonable here. It's like, I was thinking under the consideration of if we have to start playing like Poro Cannons, then we're just gonna like trade the 2 damage from the Poros for this Zonite Urchin, but we can get this in with the Subdredger. I think this is okay. Pretty good chance for him to do some overwhelming here as well. Ugh. The 3rd Noxus Blast is not ideal. It's tough to say like what amount of counterspells this guy's going to be playing. I think they usually play like 1. They usually have like 1 Deny or 1 Rite of Negation in their deck. I don't think they usually play 2 and 3 copies of cards like that. Getting in a full 6 here would be pretty choice. I mean, this attack with the block onto our Urchin, we'd be coming in for, yeah, this doesn't feel like a good block any day of the week. But taking him to 14 with 9 burn in hand, we're getting pretty close to setting up that lethal. Okay. I was actually kind of worried about a Defiant Dance coming down on that turn. I'm very glad to see you didn't have it. Now it leaves us in a spot to where we get a pretty primo open attack next turn, since we can throw the Reborn Grenadier down onto the board. All right, we can discard the Grenadier to the Poro Cannon, and then he just does not have ideal blocks after that. Alright, what do we got? Lost Soul. A little bit slow. Okay, then we'll be Nox and Fervoring away this Flame Chompers to face. Not bad, not bad. Potential to lethal this turn. Like if he taps out for something irrelevant, we can play the second Nox and Fervor. Speaking of bold moves, I guess he's probably in a spot to where if he can't, like, he probably can't win the game without this Greenglade duo. I could definitely see him wanting to get it on board. Okay. Close as this is Azir to flipping is at 9 of 13. Not scary, but not ignorable. Daddy Sion turning up to party. He's ready to flip. We can't just drop Sion on the board, though. He's gonna just get Defiant Danced if we do that. Let's see how much mana dude spends here. This is a pretty good Flawless Duet. Do we have to... We can take the first piece of this. I think we can block the second. And then we'll see about just Noxus blasting to face. We might be at a spot here where we're actually about to just get lethaled. It's like I want to see him drop below 4 mana before we go for it. We may not get that chance, but that's what I'd like to see. think we just gotta do it. We gotta block everything and just send our dudes in. Alright, bring that YOLO. The important thing here is we have the block in front of both Irelia and Azir, so he can't shove Azir out of combat, right? If we don't block Irelia, then we can run into a bit of trouble. Uh-oh, he's got a card. Fuck. Okay. Well, we're not dead. That's a that's a perk. And so this will now come down to if he has a Defiant Dance or not. We can send the Sion in, and hopefully he's good enough. You missed out on a point of damage. I guess that's what the emote was for. All right, let's give it a shot. Yep, GG. F. And so that's why I don't like to bring lineups that really just focus in and target down one deck. Like, I accept that that's a good matchup, but I think the matchups are just kind of like too close together in terms of win rates and everything, that you just run into too much failure like that if you're looking to hard target a single deck. And so I like how we set up our lineup here today, to where we do have good matchups against tokens, and we're planning on banning out a top deck, and then our tail should be pretty strong. It's just I don't like those lineups to where you say, okay, well, I'm bringing like the triple token beater, because those decks are never like a high enough win rate to just kind of guarantee to take you through the whole event. Right. Fine to hang on to Poro Cannons. I like having a little bit of early game discard. Ugh. This draws balls. If this Poro Cannon was a Zonite Urchin, it wouldn't feel as bad. Ew, God. This is painful. Oh, shit. I did not expect a Legion Rearguard to come down. Okay. I did not expect this to be a burn deck. All right, Poros, come down, do your thing. Okay, you might get excited down this Boom Crew rookie before it gets to deal his damage. I'd feel a little bit better about this game if that's the case. We just need like one little value card, it feels like.
Remember the objectives.
That was huge. Cancels the damage from the grenade and kills the unit. You can attack for 2 this turn, but I don't really care. That was a big play getting to take that down. Now we got everyone's favorite neighborhood Draven ready to ready to start some combats. I think I guess we will be generating another spinning axe after this combat. It's like I would ideally just be playing rummages here. But let's take down the units where we can. All right, it feels better. Again, did not expect this to be a burn deck, but I think this bad start's turned around. Ezreal Swain. Okay. I don't quite understand this collection of champions. If you're just playing Burn, why aren't you just playing like Annie or something? Have to wait and see what's out there to get us. Something's gonna surprise us, I'm sure. Now, do we want to start rummaging? That's a pretty fair question. I don't think we need to. We can wait until a little bit of combat and try and stop something here if we want, but we can throw away Flame Chompers fairly safely. We have a good block with Draven onto the Spiderling if he wants to do that. I don't really care if we lose Draven this turn. Like, ideally, we wouldn't lose Draven, but if he gets to take down a unit and then we get a Spinning Axe out of it, I feel like that's a pretty positive turn. Just take 2. So weird seeing some of these cards. Okay, we still get the second Spinning Axe out of this. I'm fine with it. The unit's gonna die, then we'll get to rummage away the 2 axes. Just get a little bit of refuel. Okay. And the Fallen Rider, not bad. I was worried that we were going to like run out of stuff to discard for the Get Excited. We're going to Get Excited something this turn. I don't care if it's one of these small units. It would ideally be something a little bit more powerful, but this is okay. What's he just passing for here? I mean, I could see a weird card like, well, I guess Captain Farron's not that weird, but I could see like having a Captain Farron in hand or something. I'm not sure why they're just passing with a 8 total mana though, unless they just have like, you know, Mystic Shot, Whirling Death, and one other card. Now, the new question here is we do have this Mystic Shot we can use to target Ezreal. Do we want to actually hook this House Spider out of combat to try and coerce him into blocking with Ezreal? Because Ezreal's gonna start being strong next turn. I think I'm on board. The problem would be is if he has like 2 Ezreals. Oh, we could still block him. We have the 2 Poros if we just need to block Ezreal next turn. Okay. Down to 1 card. Yeah, so as long as his 1 card isn't like Captain Farron, right, then I think we're okay. We're still, well, I don't know if I'd call us reasonably far ahead, but felt like we were ahead. Maybe we aren't ahead. I mean, he's got a champion and we don't. He's got to pick up a Sion or something. Okay. He's got a ton of death rays happening. He's going to keep drawing these things over and over again, right? He should have a 3-cost one at some point. So, it really, limits your draws. Fuck. Okay. Well, at least he can't play the Mystic Shot this turn. We should not have played this. If we pick up a rummage or a discard thing, we're going to want that Flame Chompers in our hand. That was a little sloppy. There he is. It's like, that's my thing with what's happening here. It's like, he's going to be drawing Death Rays for the rest of the game. That's all he really has access to. And we have access to big draws, so that feels okay. Is he just going to Death Ray our Boom Baboon? That sounds miserable. That's not a game-winning angle. Sure. I'll drop that emote. Alright, GG. Into that final battle of the match. Final battle of the match. Here we go. Our very similar deck, right? I feel a little bit better taking Aphelios into this thing, since we have a lot of opportunities to just generate that lifesteal weapon. And the lifesteal weapon does a lot of work in terms of just buying you infinite time against these things. If you're able to gain 4 or 5 or 6 health with it, it's pretty huge. Alright, we need some earlier plays, though. Reggie's a fine keep. Mystic Shot's okay. We need to find some of our smaller value-based plays, though. Okay. No 1-drops, unfortunately. We have to take the hit from the Legion Rearguard if he turns up, but okay otherwise. Alright, Reg, do your thing. What are we looking for here? I like the Shock Blast. Just the point of mana cheaper than True Shot Barrage can be pretty big. Still does all the necessities and taking down... oh, he's going to burn spell. Okay. I was going to say, I don't want to attack here. Like, getting trades with this is fine, but if he goes into next turn and starts playing like House Spiders and things and can get fully wide, it's going to be problematic. We're about to get nugged really hard here for 6. There's nothing we can do about it, but I prefer to have the blocker. I mean, maybe we should attack because he's attacking 100% of the time. Like, we're a turn away from where he can just, like, really load up the board. But... Alright, I'm just going to bank through this. I'm going to add Zoe. We'll Nightfall Aphelios into the Lifesteal weapon, and then he should have some trouble trying to take him down. We'll have to wait and see how much mana he has, right? If he has 3 mana, then he can shut down Aphelios, but if he taps down too low, can't. It's a little scary seeing him stop at the 3 bank. And then he plays a Legion Rearguard. I don't know. I'm skeptical. I'm still going to pick up the lifesteal thing because I think it's just too important, but we may not actually play it until next turn. He's got 6 mana. It's so weird when these turns are happening like this.
Timing is everything.
Like, I can't tell if he just has weird draws or if he's just playing a bunch of weird shit, like those death rays that we were seeing. I think he's going to try and get us on this Aphelios. Okay. Zoe is not an important unit here. Normally, I'd be okay with just letting Aphelios go. I don't think he's ultra important to what we have going on, but I don't want him to be able to, like, open with Legion Rearguard into Aphelios. Or just get this free damage in. Now we get the block. As long as this game just goes on, we're going to be completely fine now. He's down to 2 cards. We have, like, 1,000,000 in our hand. Just got to get a little bit of time.
They will know.
What you got, Reg? Probably just want the assembly line. We don't need any more cards at this point. Getting the larger units could be kind of important. He's already attacked this turn, so we don't have to completely worry about Swain, although his stun abilities can be kind of troublesome. I'd like to pick up a discard. like a Pale Cascade or something. Sump Dredger's fine, but wasn't exactly the one I was looking for. And then again, I'd like to see him spend some mana. I'm going to feel so much better if we can get to a spot to where we can actually play the Severum. I was hoping it would be like right now. Like he's still in the space to where he plays this dumb. Maybe he wants to Noxus Blast with it or something, but okay. So we can attack. I'm going to hook Swain out of combat. He can block Reggie profitably, right? But then he still just gets domed for 11. I think that does a pretty good job of coming close to ending the game. I think we're good now, though. Okay. Good. Really tough for him to hit us down from 18. And we have picked up the Winding Light. So if we can just, like, not die next turn, as we swing around to turn 8, we can gem plus Winding Light and should be able to end. Think we're good, fam jam. I'm really looking to just drop the assembly line this turn, right? The only way I can really imagine losing this game involves Swain getting to connect for damage. And so if we get the 2 fearsome blockers on the board, I think we'll feel pretty safe in those terms. Alright, he's dropping cards I don't care about. We can play an Urchin. Let's just do this a little bit safer. I don't want to just come out here and advertise that we don't have any mana or anything to do. So we can lead with the Urchin. Makes us appear to have a lot of options. Still have the potential 2 blockers for this Swain. Okay. Well, if he's not going to attack, we can just bank all the mana and open with the Winding Light still. Perfect. Maybe we'll get to play a Pale Cascade if we have to. Okay, and then with that gem, I typically advocate for... okay, we just won. I typically advocate for boosting your smaller units, but I picked the slightly larger one since this can't get hit by his small removal spells. This game's just done now, but right, if we're loading up the fancier or the Boom Baboon with a gem, then they can get hit with a Mystic Shot. So we went for the slightly larger unit just to give it a little bit more protection. Looks like we're there. I think we might have GG'd it. So yeah, that was tough. I'm glad we got through the match there at the end, but I'm still like going back to the beginning. I'm not certain how I feel about our ban. Like I know that we will like somewhat struggle against the Xerath decks. Right, their kind of like game plan is to get Xerath on the board and then throw down a bunch of the Ruinous. It's not Ruinous Path. Ruin Runner. Ruin. Dark Path. I don't know. The landmark that when you play a unit at vulnerable something, and we just have so many like low health units that Xerath can tear through. None of our units interact particularly well with the Ziggs, and I just kind of felt that our game plan really plays into what his deck combats well, right? And so it doesn't combat us as well as just playing a Blighted Ravine deck, but a lot of his synergies get fueled by what we do, if that makes sense. I think I got to where I was looking for. But, you know, that is a pretty off-meta deck, and off-meta decks tend to be off-meta for a reason, and being that they're just not as good or not as powerful or not as strong or not as consistent as the decks at the top. And so while I know that we do have good matchups against tokens, tokens is a real deck, right? Tokens will just come out and beat you, even if you have a lineup set to beat it. If you stumble anywhere, tokens will just beat you. And right, we lost to tokens. We were taking a 60-40 into tokens and lost. And so I'm not entirely certain if we should just ban out tokens because it's going to be his like realistically strongest deck and then just roll the dice against the bad one, or like risk potentially how bad that bad matchup could be. And so he did ban out Lux Illaoi. If we had to take both of our Boom Baboon decks up against Xerath potentially, how scary is that? Or I know like if he just beats you once, that's the end of it. But if he says, you know, if we split games, right, we beat his Swain deck, now we're stuck with the Boom Baboon deck against Xerath. Like, what are our chances of winning in that? And it doesn't feel. I don't know. It doesn't feel spectacular, but it might feel better than just taking a random deck up against tokens. And so, something tough. I don't know. I could see the argument either way, and I honestly don't know the right answer there. All right, next battle. Here we go. What do we got here? Mono Kaisa, Illaoi Bard, and Nautilus. This is the kind of like more along the lines of something I was expecting to see. Like we see some of these formats to where just like bringing all of the top decks is kind of sketch, but this feels like one to where bringing just like Mono Kaisa, Illaoi Bard, and tokens, it could be reasonable. And my thing against doing that is I don't like just sitting around playing a bunch of mirror matches all day. And so I choose not to. I don't like the high rolliness of just trying to take down an event playing mirrors. But I could definitely see it. But here, you know, when this lineup turns up, we're just going to ban Bard. The Illaoi Bard matchups aren't terrible, but not great. I feel like the Sea Monsters matchup probably not that great for the burn deck. You tend to run into some problems against their Vile Feasts, but we'll risk it. I think it's okay. I think if we have to run into the Sea Monsters deck, I mean, maybe Sea Monsters Illaoi's not, against our Illaoi deck's not that great. It's just you have a lot of matchups to where a lot of games to where you play a you play like a 1 health unit on turn 1 and they have a Vile Feast, and the Vile Feast plays into your Boom Baboon, and then you just get like singularly shut down by the Vile Feast. And so like I was a little worried about having to run both of our Boom Baboon decks up against the Vile Feast. I mean, maybe that was just actually the ban here, but I have a tough time not just like leaving something like that up. All right, not the greatest start. We're going to have to play this Urchin just to cycle here in the early game. Hopefully we can find something to stay on curve, though. I think we can pass. It just like gives us an opportunity to actually pick up a value play when our open attack here is not going to be super strong anyways. Okay. It's like, I'm curious if he takes this trade. It doesn't feel very good from his standpoint, but then I'm also trying to decide if that's just because we have a Sump Dredger in our hand. Okay. Winding Light's big. It kind of lets us, you know, dictate our plan here for the upcoming turns. Knowing that we can just fill out the board, we shouldn't be coming in here and just taking bad trades if we don't have to. I guess he's got that Lurk unit on top of his deck. Okay, that gets him fairly close to evolved. We'll give him fearsome Lurk to get up to 5. Little worried about the ideas of that. So we can't make a Winding Light attack until turn 8. I was stopping to think if I want to hang on to this Poro Cannon and try and build around that. I just don't think that's going to come together. Let's just go ahead and play an Urchin. Look for something a little bit more interactive. We're going to play Aphelios this turn. Then we can look to at least start shooting down some of his units. This is an important Voidling to try and take down. He's got to get evolved, but I don't want him just sitting here with the 3/3 lifesteal on board. Pick up double stun as our next one. Looks like he's considering the sharp sight. Does he care about the Elder just a little bit more? Interesting. Well, I'll offer it up. We have the means to, we have a couple of turns to try and refill our board before the Winding Light's going to come down. So, interesting. You're just setting up Kaisa. She needs Scout to be particularly scary, though. So we do have the answer to if he plays a bird, whatever bird is called. If he plays it, we have the answer to that. But oh no, I forgot. I let that slip. That was my bad. But this is a problem now. We should have taken down this Greenfang Warden when we had the chance. Shit. Right, we could have just Mystic Shot at the Greenfang Warden. I was like, I'm just going to wait and see if he plays a bird, and then I forgot about the thing being here. Okay, probably lost this one at this point. We really need like to hit the Winding Light on this upcoming turn, and we just can't do it. Yep. Okay. So I don't know if we would have been able to take that one down, like even if we had shot his unit, and that still leaves you in a bad spot to where if he has a sharp sight, you just lose the game. If he has a bird, you still just lose the game. Like that was a fairly rough place to be in, but we probably should have just gone for it. It's just like that's one of those games where it feels like if we were on the odd attack token, we would have won, but being on the evens, we just lost. Like we really needed a Nightfall Feather, whatever those things are called, to get the Winding Light down on 6, and he got to make the turn 6 kill when we couldn't do it. But moving on, I'm pretty tempted to hang on to the Winding Light here just to make sure we draw it. Like I usually don't advocate for that kind of thing, but it's kind of tempting to do here. Didn't quite play out. Not the hugest fan of hanging onto Reggie's either, but gotta have some kind of early play. All right, the trade is in. He stopped to think about it. That's kind of worrisome. I bet he already has the Vile Feast. We can kind of interact with it a little bit because we do have a Flame Chomper, but I don't like I don't like seeing him stall like that. All right, True Shot Barrage is the only playable out of those 3. Like, how much do we even care about this Jal Hunters? Like, our units are pretty bad. We can't take it down, right? We can Pale Cascade into the Jal Hunters and try and kill it that way. I mean, I just don't really care at this point if it takes down any of our units. He does get the free hook next turn with the Flame Chompers, but just doesn't seem that relevant. Alright, so what are the chances that this dude is playing Withering Wail? Right, we're about to just go all in with these Daring Poros. And so, if he has a Withering Wail, we're going to get smoked. What? I mean, our hand isn't doing anything else. And I guess the other question is, do we ever... I think this Pale Cascade is fine. We need to cycle. It's not going to do anything else this game. Like, I only wanted the Pale Cascade to begin with to protect some of our cards like Reggie from Vile Feast. And just getting the takedown here is fine. We can still add 2 Poros to the board if we want. I'm kind of okay with just discarding Hush. But maybe we don't need to. Now if we're just building up to the Winding Light. Alright, just open for 4. Aphelios changes things, though. I think I'm looking to pick up double stun. But let's give it one Poro. We can still follow up with Aphelios, and then depending on how much mana he spends here, will kind of dictate the card we're looking to pick up. I'm actually leaning towards the Overwhelm one to put onto Aphelios, just to chunk in the damage. I don't want to lose any units this turn. And it's like pretty random in what we'll pick up with Crescendum. We'll take Crescendum for the next one. We'll never kill anything with Severum here. I mean, I guess he is kind of far away from deep, but if he wants to take down the turn, he's going to be able to do it. Or wants to hit deep, he's going to be able to do it. Okay, squad. Maybe. He hasn't really put forth enough to make me scared. We can pass. If he's like gotta just send it back to us while he has saplings on the board, I'm more than okay. We can just still open with the Winding Light next turn if we don't lose any units. It's like that's an interesting choice hitting Aphelios. Alright, so hopefully the Winding Light is enough here. If it's not, then maybe we can close out with the True Shot Barrage. But I think this should be pretty close to getting lethal. He can't play Ruination. This looks a very Desperation Salvage. Not quite sure what he's trying to hit with it, but we should have the 9 lethal coming out of our Poros. Okay. GG. All right. Game 3 coming up. Feel the moonlight, Aphelios. Put it upon your skin. Oh man, I forgot to use my my dodgeball quote of the match. It's gonna be, "No one makes me bleed my own blood." I fucking loved it. No one makes me bleed my own blood. Good stuff, dude. Well done, Ben Stiller. All right, into this next one. I'm half tempted to hang on to one Riptide Sermon. It does take down a lot of their good units, and we can still play it on turn 3. Right? No. Wrong. Forgetting how awesome my Grumble Slugs are. They aren't that awesome. you can smash, but you can't hit with the tentacle. Ooh, not a great draw. I definitely want one of those back now. I was hoping to pick up something a little bit early and interactive, and that just did not happen. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. This is scary. Because I don't think he ever puts his Sea Scarab in danger here. I have to just wait and see. I'm okay with playing both of our cards this turn if that's what it comes down to. We have to say like Sharp Sight plus single combat. It would be okay. All right. Not happy. Not happy. He's played this a little slow. We'll get to Riptide Sermon, the Sea Scarab. This is his important unit at the moment. It's his means to start getting deep. Pretty tempted to just take all of this. Oh, he's actually bringing in the Scarab. Like now we could make the Sharp Sight styled play. Let's just give him the point. Maybe not. Well, we do kind of need a Tentacle for next turn to get this Illaoi going with. Okay. Seems like he just has a Vile Feast. Limps Beyond. Okay. Okay. All right, Illaoi, let's get started. Time to do that thing you do.
Stand and be tested. Come, test yourself. Witness truth.
All right, so his blocks here are pretty bad. We can Sharp Sight through some of this. We could single combat if we needed to, but the Sharp Sight should be good enough. So you can do like 2 damage drain, which would be kind of annoying, but not enough to really end our day. Ooh, that seems good. We can Concerted Strike flip Illaoi if we want to. We have the Eye of Nagakaboros to kind of pop off a little bit. I think that was pretty powerful. We have the Sharp Sights in hand. I was going to say, like, we have some options here with like the Concerted Strike, but I think the Sharp Sight is the way to go. I just don't want to get boomed by a like a From the Depths, whatever the 2 damage drain thing is called. Salvage leaves him 1 short. Right, 1 away from deep. Sorry, dude. Nagakaboros before us. We ever just win the game this turn? Is this 5, 6, 7? It'd be 8. It's pretty close. It puts us in a spot to where next turn he has to answer like everything, and that's pretty challenging to do. It's still just lethal. Okay, I mathed it. I did the fingers. I did some counting. GG. Mark it a W for bust. Get ourselves directly into that final battle. Our own blood will not be bled today. GG. The only other things I could really remember out of it, it's like I don't know if you give like some of their commentary in there a pass, given that like you're supposed to, I think, have like the meta knowledge that Christine Taylor, that's the blonde female lead, is actually married in real life to Ben Stiller. I assume they're still married. They were at least married when they made the movie. And so he does say like a lot of really obnoxious shit towards her. And the only line out of it that really gets me is he walks up to her and goes, "Do you want a mate?" It's like I can't bring like the level of creepy that he does with it to where he really just like looks super greasy and super like 80s feathered at the same time, and dropping lines like that. It's really choice, but I really love the line. Do you want to mate? But here, Talia Lysandra is a horrible matchup for a lot of what we're doing. We can pull it up here. We did set it as one of our on meta problems, and I just don't really want to deal with it. And so I think these other ones have potential to be fine. Like, I'm never happy to see Soraka, but I think we can manage Soraka with just like the raw power that our decks bring. And then Sejuani can be worrisome in the face of playing Illaois. Right, they tend to have some amount of frostbites in their deck, and so I'm just going to lead with the Illaoi deck here. So if we do have to play Illaoi against the frostbite deck, hopefully it's just in the first game, right? So we have an opportunity to play with her again. So with this idea, we'd either play Illaoi into Soraka, which would be okay, or we would play this into the Frostbite deck first, so then we have a chance against Soraka with what I imagine is pretty powerful against Soraka. Not really doing the kind of combating Soraka wants to see. They do probably play a bunch of Hushes, though. All right, not a lot going on here. Feels good, though, if he doesn't have the early plays to help level up the Sejuani. Right, if he doesn't play like a warning shot or a mystic shot or something here, then going into turn 3 at Sejuani being level 0 is pretty strong and good. We have managed to pick up a really awkward hand here with the double Golden Aegis and the Lux at this point, but I at least like how this is going in terms of the Sejuani ultimate. Yep, that's fine. We don't lose our tentacle this way. So the downside here is I assume he's just going to attack at this point. Would ideally have the Shell Shocker on board, but as they say, it is what it is. They say it a lot. Okay, so we can't full prevent the damage this turn. Sejuani is going to get a tick, so I'll let the Omen Hawk come through. But then we'll take down the Ruthless Raider. We only have 1 health to put in front of it either way.
Truth is no betting.
Illaoi's attack should be pretty strong here. He's not going to have any premier ways to interact with her, and then not quite ready to give up on the tentacle. We have the ways to boost it for the next turn. Interesting. Just putting some damage on her. That's all it seems to be. Is he going to have like a get excited? I'm not entirely certain. Like, I don't think this deck usually plays too much in the way of burn. They of course could, but I don't think that they do.
Let the light guide you.
Like, it doesn't seem like Illaoi is going to be eating a get excited in the face of this style of deck. Shit's about to get real, though. This is not a good state to be in for the opponent. We'll wait till he gets into combat before we try and single combat down Teemo. All right, and I think it's safe to say he's probably going to struggle here. I'm going to put Illaoi into the mix. Let's just go ahead and I'm going to burst out the Tentacle card, but I'm not going to play the Final Spark. His blocks here are all dog shit. If he wants to spend the mana it takes to kill one of our plays, fine. If he wants to play Fury of the North or something, we're still just like crushing through this so hard. that I think it's okay. Odd draws with double Lux, but really powerful open. Like Fury of the North trades are fine. He still just has so much to deal with, and then he needs to add more shit to the boards afterwards. Okay. Rip Illaoi. You fought valiantly, girl. We appreciate the efforts that you put forth. Your memory will always be in our heart. No one makes you bleed your own blood, Illaoi. Ooh, interesting. Just boosting the top unit of his deck, I guess, preventing 2 to the face. I did the mathematics on if this is a spot you want to be in, and it is not. He's got 1 card, just picked up 1 more. About to drop these Grumble Slugs.
Have a mushroom. Have 3.
Block. What more needs to be said? Block. Do we use the slug, though? Like, I'm going to try and Riptide Sermon this. He's got 1 card in hand. If his 1 card's a combat trick, then I'm fine. You know, you can have it. But I'm looking to get the 2 to face here. Final Spark, just go directly to face and then kill with the open. And if you're not familiar with this, I actually just learned this the other day. You used to have a target for Final Spark. At least I thought you used to have to. Now you don't. He doesn't have any dudes on board. We can just put the Final Spark out in the middle and it'll deal the full 4 to face. So you don't just lose out on it.
Into battle with hearts aglow.
There we are. GG. Nice. So yeah, that was the one I was worried about. I feel a little bit better getting to take Aphelios into 2 decks. I don't think Sejuani's going to be super happy about seeing the Winding Lights. I mean, I guess if things happen more according to their plans, to where Sejuani gets flipped and then you play the Winding Light and they frostbite your whole team, that kind of sucks. But I think outside of that, we should be okay. And then I definitely feel better with this against the Soraka deck than I did with the potential to get hushed out of the other deck. All right, what do we got? A lot of cheap plays. I don't think we need 2 Mystic Shots here. I definitely want to keep 1. I want to be able to take down Teemo if he plays him, but 2 feels a little... I guess, I mean, he might have enough targets, but he's playing a kind of health growy style deck. Not guaranteed the Mystic Shot kills anything. And then we have the attack token. That's huge. It's, again, like as we saw in that previous game, to where we went to turn 3 and didn't take any damage. He's going to run into the same issues here, as to where if he plays Teemo on turn 1, we can still just Mystic Shot it before he can deal damage. He could play Teemo and then play a Ruthless Raider, in which we would have to take damage, but we'll deal with that as it comes.
Armed and ready.
And we did see him play a bunch of Elixir of Irons last game, so this isn't guaranteed to get a kill. I mean, it's a same kind of deal as to where if it lands, we probably just win the game. If he has a spell, then he can't add any more units to the board. Might even get a Zoe hit in here.
Reality is just your mind crumbling under what it doesn't understand, silly.
It's good to me.
Let's do it over there.
Let's not ruffle our feathers.
Nice. I was gonna say, I'd love to get that trade. I was considering attacking with the Zonite Urchin, It feels a little sketchy. Since he would get the free block with the Starlit Seer, but I think we're going to fill out our board and wish that we'd just gotten that attack in.
The sub rock got me good.
All the Poros are ready for the Poro plan now.
An auspicious season.
Alright, but we'll definitely get to slam some damage in. I'll play the star chart now. Let's see if we hit an Equinox. If we get the Equinox down, the Ballistic Bot, this will be pretty powerful. Had to stop and check what our Zoe status was. See if we're going to be at 10. Pretty close. Pretty close. Okay, pretty straightforward. Chunk in this 8, and then as long as we don't die before our next attack, we should be good to win with the Winding Light.
Blessed by snow and stars.
What's he at? He's only at 2 ticks on the Sejuani. Yeah, he's pretty far away from that being scary. Alright, totes my goats. I don't think we want to just start dropping Poro Cannon stuff. I mean, maybe we should. We can change our mind on this next turn. But right, we're probably not going to be dealing any ground-based damage. So if we can get 3 Poros on the board, or if we get a strike out of the Mountain Goat and get to discard... how do we want to go about all this? Did we get a little too greedy with our plays?
Savage cold. Night flowers upon my blade.
Because we need a spell to burst out next turn, so we have to use the Dusk Petal. We can get 3 Poros down, I guess. Then hook Sejuani out of combat. Alright. That it? Weren't bringing these other big boys?
We will resist.
Do we even bother with this last one? I think so. We need 2 of them to get through if we want to kill him with this. Get excited. All right, see if that's enough. You can interact with this, like, you know, it's not going to be guaranteed to get a kill, but if we can take him to 3, then we, of course, have the Get Excited Lethal in hand.
An auspicious season.
This is for a plunder? That was kind of preemptive. Not a plunder, a Nightfall? Is there Nightfall in these factions? This is like playing against the Sejuani mode in the Path of Champions, where they just drop all of their combat tricks pre-combat.
An auspicious season.
Beam. Okay. All right. Well, we win. I did the mathematics. Things are okay. Our attacks here aren't going to be any good. Right. He has big enough units to block both of the big boys, but the Get Excited will be enough to end it. Laser Kitty. All right, got him. Got our Prompt Glory. Easy peasy. And so, yeah, it was a pretty interesting set of matches. Again, the way we kind of went about this is getting to be more and more how I feel about some of these formats, and that I don't like to target decks. I like to have a kind of ban strategy, but I don't like to have a targeted deck strategy. So it's like I don't want to target Illaoi Bard. I don't want to target any Twisted Fate. I don't want to target Kaisa. Because as you could see across all those matches, we played 4 matches. One of them had Kaisa. One of them had Illaoi Bard. I think, did 2 of them have tokens or one of them I think 2 of them had tokens. And so from like the top 3 decks of the format, we only saw them once across each of the matches, and I think even the Kaisa and the Illaoi Bard that we saw were both within the same player. And so, just at least when you're out here in Gauntlet, it's just a kind of like a 2-pronged thing, right? You don't see the decks often enough, and then as we saw with the tokens deck, you still can lose against the deck that you're targeting. And so I do like to want to have a good matchup table. I don't want to have these situations to where we face a deck that's really good at beating 2 of ours, or if we get in a spot to where we're like inadvertently getting targeted in our lineup. I like to have this set up to where no 2 of our decks get really beat up by 1, and that's why I kind of call out these sections up here at the top with why we want to ban Illaoi Bard, because it's so good against 2 of our decks. That's why we want to ban Lysandra Talia and Aphelios Viktor, just because they ace 2 of our decks. And so I like to kind of stay away from that. But I think the place where I start to have a little bit of a problem is I don't like to play the really strong and top of the meta decks, because I don't want to play a bunch of mirrors. But that does inadvertently leave you towards playing weaker decks in general. And so I'm trying to find this kind of delicate balance between not playing all of the kind of premier on meta decks, while not making our decks too weak in the event that we play people that are just like, I'm playing the good ones, right? Yeah, I think that was the problem we ran into with last seasonals. Is there was Talia, Lysandra, and Aphelios Viktor. Our plan was to just ban Aphelios Viktor and then not play against anybody playing Talia, Lysandra, and Aphelios Viktor. And that's what our 2 losses came to, were people bringing both of those decks to the format. And it wasn't like super common, but I didn't really think that people would do something like that, because it didn't make total sense looking at the matchup tables. But it does make sense in the kind of ideal that, well, I'm just going to ban Aphelios Viktor, and then in the ideal that I'm just going to bring good decks. And so I'm trying to get myself in that mindset to where we just bring good decks, and I think that's what we've done with this lineup. I could definitely see taking Draven, Sion, Vi out if you want to go kind of all in on this ideal of I'm just playing decks that are good against other, right? Other is that long tail that we talk about of just a large collection of decks that are not in kind of like the top 10 of the meta, but you're pretty likely to just run into weird shit. That Talia Lysandra is like 61 or 62% against the other meta. I chose not to do that because your matchup against tokens starts to suffer, right? The tokens matchup would put us in one of these spots to where we have like a 30% win rate here with this Draven Sion, and then another down matchup against tokens with Aphelios Viktor, and then you kind of run into a weird spot to where you have 2 decks that are bad against 2 of the top decks in the format. So that's why we didn't play it here, and that's why I landed on the Draven Sion Vi. But at the end of the day, I was pretty happy with how this strategy played out. I know we played against some people to where it didn't feel like the matchups were great, but I never felt like we were out of any of the matchups from the start, and it was still good enough for us to take it to the end. And so that's it. We hit our prime glory, and then that will do it for us today. And so hope everyone enjoyed the video. Hope you learned some dodgeball quotes a little bit better. You maybe learned a thing or 2 along the way and had a good time watching. This is Bust, and we thank you for being here.